Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday morning. I hope you are well. We come to Psalm 83, so let's ask for God's help. Heavenly Father, as we come to this psalm today, please make it relevant for us in our age. Help us to have insight to what it was about then, but also help us to live according to your word, shaped this morning by Psalm 83. Amen. Well, Psalm 83 comes from a place of terrible pain. God's people in the Old Testament, probably around the time of the exile, are feeling the pressure of the world around them. And they're crying out, God, verse 1, do not keep silent. If you haven't read it, now's your time. Go and read Psalm 83. God, do not keep silent. Do not be deaf, God. Do not be idle. See how your enemies make an uproar. So they're crying out to God because it feels like the world is against them, like all is trouble for them. They see the nations, verse 3, devise clever schemes against your people, your treasured ones. And they don't want it. They want God to do what he's done before, to stand up and be known, and for it to be visual and loud and proud. You may have felt the same way from time to time, as you felt as though Christians have been given a unfair deal. God, just make yourself known. Put a video in the sky, put loudspeakers in the sky, and declare yourself and judge the peoples around. Verse 9, that's what the Israelites wanted. Deal with them as you did with Midian, or as you dealt with Zebah and Zalmunna, who said, let us seize God's pastures for ourselves. So the Israelites look back and go, God, you've stopped this kind of thing. Do it again. Verse 13, make them like tumbleweed, my God, like straw before the wind. They really do want the enemies wiped away. And you can understand it, or at least you can put yourself in their shoes. If you've felt the pressure of the nations around, if you are the one nation who has the true God, who's trying to live a holy, upright life, and yet you're still suffering, you can understand where they come from. They want, verse 16, that the nations will seek your name, Yahweh. But they want it through terror, verse 17. Let them be put to shame and terrified forever. Let them perish in disgrace. May they know that you alone, whose name is Yahweh, are the Most High over all the earth. Maybe they don't even want them to be saved. If they do, they want them to be shamed into it and terrified into it. And more likely they don't. They want them to know God is true and then to get their comeuppance. We can feel like this at times. I mean, how many times have you prayed, Lord, come back and judge everyone else? Forgetting about yourself. I mean, our own hearts are the problem so often, but it's others we want to see judged. May they know you, Lord. But I already do. That's something for us to think about for ourselves. Do we? And are we always the righteous one? But the gospel, the coming of Jesus, it really does transform this, doesn't it? We no longer have to cry out, God speak. And God has spoken in the past. We know that. He spoke in the beginning. He cried out and the world was created. He spoke all those words. But John 1, such a wonderful book and one that I always often go to. John 1 speaks of a new speaking in the world. So there's crying out, there's psalms, there's prayers for God to act. Well, God does. In the beginning was the Word, John 1, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. All things were created through him. Apart from him, nothing was created that has been created. Life was in him, in the Word, and that life was the light of men. And the thing is, that light came into the world. Verse 14 of John 1, the Word became flesh, took up residence amongst us, and we observed his glory, the glory as the one and only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. See, God has come and he has spoken, and he's done it with such finality in the life and the death and the resurrection of Jesus. In fact, he's transformed things. We might want to cry out now, Lord, come and judge all our enemies, show them you are true, and let them bend the knee and be destroyed. But Jesus has transformed our thinking. Grace and truth has come. The truth is we're all sinners. The truth is even our enemies are no worse than us in God's eyes. The truth is we all need salvation. God is full of grace and has come for us all. Makes you think about your enemies differently. It makes you start to understand how Jesus can say, love your enemies. For no one should fall on the wrong side of God's judgment. Couldn't want that for your worst enemy. Psalm 83 is, well, it's a psalm from its time. It's not our time. Our time is a time of grace and truth. Something to thank God for, but don't let the opportunity go. This is the age to remember God has spoken and there is hope. Amen.